You're watching TRT World's continuing coverage of the earthquakes that hit southern Turkey and Syria. I'm Imran Garta. Last Monday, a 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck the province of Kahramanmaraş. Just hours after the first quake, a second one of 7.6 magnitude struck 100 kilometers to the north. 10 provinces in southern Turkey have been affected. Tens of thousands are dead, over 100,000 injured, and millions affected. Within hours, the international community started to respond. Let's take a look.
Rescue efforts continue among the ruins of cities. The international community rallied to provide aid and support after disaster struck on February 6th. Firefighters, medics, rescue dogs and equipment have come from afar to help locate people still trapped under the rubble and support the millions who've been left homeless. There are now search and rescue workers from 80 countries in Turkey. More than 9,000 foreign search and rescue personnel are in the country, about 25% of the total, and specialists from 4 more countries are expected to arrive soon. Street after street reduced to dust, teams working through the night to save lives.
This place is very cold, so we have to seize the opportunity of these days, locate the possible survivors efficiently and get them out in a professional and scientific way as soon as possible.
This Chinese team pulled a man from the remains of his apartment block in Antakya after he lay trapped for more than 150 hours. Another team from Pakistan has rescued 5 people so far.
The Army's search and rescue team is going to travel with approximately 3 tons of aid. Also, another rescue package comprising of 55 Rescue 1122 personnel, together with 16 tons of aid, will leave from Lahore.
It's been over a week since the earthquakes hit Turkey and Syria, leaving hundreds of thousands of people without basic supplies and unable to return home. International organizations and NGOs are helping to provide food, shelter and medical care. And ordinary citizens are doing their bit too, donating and collecting tons of aid.
Everybody wants to support, of course. What is going on in Turkey and in Syria is a crisis that we should all come together as humanity, and we should all try to, hand in hand, try to support with anything we can.
Qatar is sending 10,000 ready homes, which were part of the 2020 FIFA World Cup accommodation. The EU activated its emergency Copernicus satellite, a mapping service to help first responders. And the US has vowed to help its NATO ally.
As I told President Erdogan, and I called him immediately when the first quake hit, that the United States is offering our full support, full support.
And countries like Indonesia, Haiti and Pakistan, which have experienced firsthand the devastation large earthquakes can cause, are also doing their part. Turkey is one of the world's largest humanitarian donors, spending billions in different parts of the world. Now, as the country tries to come to terms with this enormous loss, the international community is stepping up to return the favour.
Well, joining me now from Washington, D.C. is the Haitian Ambassador to the U.S., Bocchit Edmond. From Ankara is Yousaf Junaid, the Pakistan Ambassador to Turkey. And from one of the areas worst affected by the earthquake, Hatay, is Lalu Muhamad Iqbal, who is the Indonesian Ambassador to Turkey. Gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. Lalu Muhamad Iqbal, really good to see you out there on the ground. Looks like you're in a tent. You are in the earthquake-affected area. Tell me what the experience has been like. What have you seen and heard?
Yes, as soon as we heard that earthquake has taken place in this area on the 6th of this month, then the night of that day, we decided at the Embassy of Indonesia in Ankara to deploy our team. I led the team by myself. So I went to Gaziantep, and we have another team went to Kahramanmaraş. Another team went to Diyarbakir, and another team went to Hatay. The purpose was two. One is to evacuate our Indonesian students in those areas, Indonesian citizens in those areas, and the second is to make an assessment from the ground on what happened and what my government can do to help the Turkish government. And we found out that the worst affected area is Hatay. That's why since then we decided to operate in Hatay, and we focus all our help, our assistance to the Turkish brothers and sisters in Hatay.
And I wonder, Ambassador Yousaf Junaid, how important is it to you that Pakistan decided to get involved and do what it can to help?
Thank you. As you know, Pakistan and Turkey have been like a brotherly countries for the last so many centuries. It's not a question of a decade or 2 decades or 50 years. We have been, associated with so many religious, cultural, ethnic bonds together, despite the difference that we have. Even from the starting from the war of liberation in Turkey, the Muslims over there, which is now a part called Pakistan, they were very supportive. And similarly, whenever we were faced with any calamity or atrocity, Turkey government was the first one to come forward and step into our support. For example, the earthquake in 1995 is a glaring example in Kashmir where the massive support came from Turkey. Similarly, we can say about the same thing about the 2010 and 2021 floods. And in 1999, when Istanbul was hit, Pakistan was probably one of the quickest to respond to that calamity. And in the same way, because we consider Turkey as our second home, we were very active from the very beginning. And my Prime Minister, Mr. Shahbaz Sharif, on the morning of 6th, immediately an hour after the earthquake, called me personally and inquired about the extent of the damage as well as about the other things. And he was asking mainly about the details of the relief that we can provide. After the initial assessment and consultations with AFAD and other areas, we decided that tents and blankets and jackets, warm jackets for the children, boys, women, are probably the most important thing, along with the request we received from the Turkish authorities that they are in need of the rescue teams. So the first relief effort was made in terms of on 7th morning, landing of the rescue operation teams for the finding of the people who were under the rubble. And in this regard, 2 teams landed on 7th of February. The first one was of Pakistan Air Force, which was comprising of about 33 people. And the next one was Rescue 1122, which comprised of about 55 people. They landed at Adana and immediately moved to Adiyaman, where the main focus of our activities were focused. Besides that, we have been continuously, airlifting whatever is possible for us and whatever is required. But the main emphasis has been on the winterized tents, on the blankets, medical equipment, as well as some garments which are required for the temperatures which are very harsh. Besides that, we are in the complete coordination with AFAD. Whatever is to be done, we are there to be there.
Right. All 3 countries here, no doubt affected by natural disasters over the years. Indonesia through earthquakes, tsunamis. Pakistan, as you mentioned, that massive earthquake in Kashmir in 2005. Bocchit Edmond, Haiti with a massive, mammoth earthquake in 2010 where more than 300,000 people were killed. Of course, this is not a competition, but it is an opportunity, Mr. Ambassador Edmond, to compare and contrast. And no doubt there must be, when you see the scale of the devastation in Türkiye and Syria, there must be a way for you to reflect and for you to maybe find a common thread there and maybe think, perhaps I have a word of advice for the people of the region, given that my country has been through this.
Yes, indeed. And first of all, let me say, take the opportunity to present my deepest sympathy and also the sympathy of my country to the people of Turkey. It is really sad to see those images that are bringing back memories, worst memories in our mind in Haiti. As you said, in 2010, our 7.0 earthquake destroyed the entire capital city and other cities around the capital. But those damages, the earthquake in 2010 caused more than $800 billion, $8 billion to the national economies in terms of destruction. But seeing those images in Turkey really showed the depth and the extent of that earthquake. It was really bad and really, it will have very bad consequences, not only on the economy and the people's life, or a lot of people will be displaced and so on. So In Haiti, we have learned our lessons, and even though it was an earthquake that occurred 100 years after the first one, the people were not used to that, and that's one of the reasons we lost more our citizens. But I believe every time we experience those trends, and we will learn from that, and we will make sure how to behave next time, and what kind of policy do we have to put in place in terms of construction or rules and so on. So when I'm looking at the situation now in Turkey, I believe even though Turkey is a more well-advanced country than ours, but I believe it's very important to stress on the fact of the showing of the solidarity of different countries to Turkey. You know, the fact that the world has, despite a lot of issues, a lot of problems we have now, particularly with the war in Ukraine, where the consequences are being felt around the world, but the solidarity of the world is still there. But I believe, and moving forward, the fact that there will be all those NGOs, all those international help arriving in Turkey, I guess there will be for more screening from the Turkish government. But in the case of Haiti, what we face is the fact that we lost our entire institutions, and NGOs came in, and we had no control over them. And at the end of the day, we didn't feel the kind of construction process. And nowadays, up to now, 13 years after, we still are being, on the situation where the reconstruction is not complete.
Yeah, those are interesting points that you make, especially as we near the end of one phase of this disaster and move into another. The variables are different, the context is different, but the catastrophe in many ways is the same, and the lessons could in many ways be the same as well. Lalu, Muhamad, Iqbal, what has most surprised you during your time on the ground, going out of the corridors of power in Ankara and into the field and into the affected areas?
Well, Doris, this time I think, when I met with Turkish brothers here, the governor and others, they said, thank you to Indonesia for helping. I said, no need to say thanks to someone you have helped a lot in the past. They came to Indonesia in time of need when we were suffered with this tsunami in 2004. And then they were still there for years after the tsunami itself to help us. And then during Palu earthquake, they also among the first country to come to Palu to help us, and also during the COVID-19 as well. So there is no need to say thanks to Indonesia, whom you have helped a lot in the past. But this is really, as my colleague said before, that this is a show of solidarity. We decided to send 2 military aircrafts in the very beginning, in the early days of the earthquake. We sent 2 military aircraft bringing all the search and rescue equipment and team. And then just this morning, another aircraft is coming, wide-body aircraft coming with the field hospital. So from today, we are going to deploy our field hospital, which can treat at least 150 people a day. And then on the 20th of this month, we are going to have two other aircraft from Indonesia. In fact, what we are planning to do in Turkey is the biggest humanitarian mission that we have ever deployed by Indonesia. And we are sad to see the situation, but we are happy that during this time we can come and help our brothers.
That's really beautiful. And I wonder, Ambassador Yousaf Junaid, whether that same theme applies to Pakistan. This idea that you helped us in our time of need, now we will help you in your time of need. And it's not just a photo op, it's not just issuing a message of solidarity, putting out a tweet, putting out a statement. It's sending people to work on the ground, to help pull people out of the rubble, to help heal people and rescue people. Tell me how important that is to you.
You know, as I earlier said, that for us, this is a very unique relationship. It has a very long history. So I think that what we are doing is a kind of must for us, because we feel that parts of Pakistan are hit by the earthquake. So that is how we have responded throughout this tragedy. As I earlier said, the Prime Minister was personally monitoring, and it is not just once or twice. I think he calls every day 4 or 5 times to inquire what are the things going on, and he has initiated a massive program for support over there in Pakistan, because we believe that whatever has to be done very quickly. So in terms of that, our cabinet has already passed a legislation that they will be donating their 1 month salaries, so will be the government servants, and the public funds have been opened. Prime Minister Relief Fund has been opened, and our ministers have been regularly visiting the Turkey embassy over there. And yesterday, the Prime Minister himself, along with the senior federal cabinet, went there and sat with the Turkish ambassador. And not only the condolences were given, but a need assessment was also done over there. And in this regard, we have very clear, mandate that we have to show that we are together, no matter how devastated Pakistan has been in the last few months because of the massive floods that we ourselves faced about a few months back. Whatever is there, the structures were destroyed over there, but still, because of those floods, we say that in some ways we were, fortunate that we had a system which had been very recently erected to combat those floods. So our rescue and respond effort was a bit swifter, because we were already in the transition of getting out of that calamity that we were facing. So that is how we were able to respond to the immediate needs very early. And
Right.
that is where the difference is. Similarly, in Turkey, we have mobilized a kind of, not a campaign, I would say, but we have created an awareness amongst the Pakistani diaspora which is living here, that we have to be there together, and they have been participating in the relief operations. And the embassy and the Pakistani consulate on its own, from their staff, collected a sizable amount of donations, and we were able to go visit the various relief centers in Ankara as well as in Istanbul to supply those goods. Another aspect which is very heartening is the Pakistani NGOs and the private people who have come forward in a big way. We have Al Khidmat, which is an organization in Pakistan which is doing very good relief work over here, and so is a Salani Trust, which is a massive operation, and they have deployed their teams, and they are constantly in touch with the AFAD in order to, I would say, speed up the process as well as to give more support in every possible way.
Right, right. And of course, a lot of news of Pakistanis who live in Turkey volunteering as well with these different organizations, Turkish organizations, Pakistani organizations as well. Very heartening news there. Bocchit Edmond, tell me a little bit about how a nation works to handle the mood and the emotions of their people in the aftermath of such a catastrophe, and especially when there is legitimate blame to go around when you take stock of the sequence of events.
Yeah, I believe the most important thing here is leadership. And those days, whenever your nation is facing such catastrophe, it has to be very important step to show leadership, and not only to take over, to get control on everything that coming in into your country, but also to identify which way you can bring support to your citizens who have been affected, who have been displaced, who have lost loved ones. And it is a very, very sad situation when the entire country is in mourning. I strongly believe that in the case of Turkey and other nations, whenever they face those situations, they have to look at this aspect, not only to look after those who are coming in to help, or the next phase that will, because we have to move on, but it is also very important to consider the emotional aspect of the people.
Mm.
And once we consider that, because most of the time it's very important to give them such accompaniment from the health sector, and people need some counseling, people need hospital care and so on. So those kind of assistance I've been seeing the two ambassadors from Indonesia and Pakistan are talking about. Those kind of solidarity or practical solidarity, I believe, a nation needs in this time of of catastrophe and this time of chaos. So I think we need to applaud that whenever those kind of solidarity are being shown, and those I think we need to applaud, and we need to get lessons from that. And as you said, those catastrophes, they are not Hitler, they are not Bin Laden. We cannot catch them. We need to make sure that we get prepared all the time for those. And I think the entire world needs to consider thinking about natural disaster. Those catastrophes, it's very important to have international funds set up for that, because most of the time, if it is not for the generosity of other people, some nation would have been really in deep trouble getting those assistance. So I think at the same time, while we are talking about climate change, about all those issues or natural disasters, it's very important to think about an international funds for those kind of events whenever they occurred, and the nation can get assisted and for the steps forward, because it's very important to do that.
And to linger on that and to build on it a little bit, let me ask Ambassador Lalu Muhammad Iqbal, you're in Hatay, you're close to the border with Syria. Earthquakes don't recognize our man-made borders and the lines we draw in the sand. Just like COVID-19, just like climate change, these things don't recognize borders. Explain to us how much more complicated it is for your government to help when it comes to Syria across the border, where the country is in a slightly different situation, particularly politically.
Really, disaster doesn't recognize border anymore. So it's about humanitarian issue. So we will help all our brothers with whatever we can do, no matter our political situation. You see in Turkey also, the Greece is coming here, Israel is coming and help, and they don't even consider the political situation. Also in Syria, we are going to help our Syrian brothers, but the issue is our help might be different from one country to another. It depends on their need and it depends on the situation. This is the importance of I am being here in Hatay on the ground, so I can see the issue. If you see Antakya, for example, it's practically demolished the whole city, and practically in the future you have to rebuild one city from the scratch. So it's going to be a long-term process. So I'm here in Hatay in order to assess and to give inputs to fit our government with what we can do in the future in first step, second step, third step, and the next step.
Yousaf Junaid, I'm going to give you the final word on the program. The main lesson to be derived from the past week is what?
Well, it is humanity. I think that the world has responded tremendously, and we, the Muslims, are always there for our Muslim brothers. The response has been tremendous, and we have to put our political differences aside wherever we are, no matter what happens. As Ambassador Lalu was saying, right now we just have to focus on the relief. There are no political divides. There should not be political divides. And we have to move forward. And we have to show a solidarity, not only with Turkey, but also with Syria. But in terms of a general message, we would say that it has to be the last win for humanity, because that matters. Today it is Turkey. Yesterday it was Pakistan. Before that it was Haiti. Before that it was Indonesia. Tomorrow it could be anyone else. We have to understand that the world is undergoing a transition. It's a kind of a climatic change which is taking place. I'm not an expert on seismic things, but I understand that the whole world is undergoing a transition, and we have to sit down and look for a kind of complete system which should be effective for all countries of the world, not restricted to certain developed, underdeveloped, mid-management countries. We have to devise a comprehensive response mechanism to act very effectively and quickly in case any of the country of the world is hit by such disasters.
Well,
thank you.
My sincerest gratitude to all three ambassadors who took the time to talk to us today, Yousaf Junaid, Bocchit Edmond, and Lalu Muhammad Iqbal. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.